Hi, I'm Cherie Fogarty, founder of Creating My Best Life and Habit Gratitude for Kids, where we show you how to get happier and more grateful children and be happier and more grateful yourself. I'm a busy mom just like you, and I want to be happier and more grateful, and I want my kids to be happier and more grateful. So here's one thing we busy moms and dads can do this week to start bringing more happiness and gratitude into our lives. It's super simple. It takes practically no time, so there are no excuses. It's to stop the blaming and complaining. No matter how positive we are, we all at times can find ourselves blaming or complaining about something. Some of us more than others. But here's the thing. Blaming and complaining isn't particularly good for us or anyone else who has to listen to us. And it also, in fact, means we're not really happy or being grateful. When we're blaming and complaining, we're focusing on what we don't have instead of focusing on all that we have to be grateful for. When we're blaming and complaining, we're focusing on the negative, not the positive. Not a particularly good recipe for happiness. When we're blaming and complaining, we're not taking responsibility for ourselves or for our choices. And in fact, when we're blaming and complaining, we're actually giving other people or things control over us and our lives instead of taking control and being responsible for them ourselves. Not something we want to do or we want our kids to do. Blaming and complaining basically is a waste of time and energy. It accomplishes nothing. And in fact, it can prevent us from getting what we want, and it certainly prevents us from being happier and more grateful. So what can we do to stop the blaming and complaining? Well, that's what this week's tip is all about. And it's easy to do for you and for your kids. Step one, the first thing we're going to do this week is to start paying attention to our thoughts and to our words. Because remember, our words are just our thoughts manifested. So when we start paying attention to our thoughts and words and we help our children pay attention to theirs, that's the first step in stopping the blaming and complaining. Because here's the thing, a lot of the times we're just blaming and complaining is because it's kind of second nature, it's become a habit and we don't even realize it. So the first step, super simple, doesn't take any time, pay attention to your thoughts and to your words. Then step two is if you actually find yourself, surprise, surprise, or your children blaming or complaining about something, stop and we're going to shift our thoughts. I want you to immediately think or say out loud, preferably, especially to model for your children, 3 things that you're grateful for. Now, a bonus would be if those 3 things relate to actually what you're complaining about, but honestly, it can be any 3 things that you're grateful for or happy about. We're shifting our thoughts from the negative, the blaming and complaining, to the positive happiness and gratitude. So, for example, if you find yourself sitting there having breakfast with your children and it's raining again and you're complaining about the weather and how much rain you're getting and you can't believe it's raining again. Stop, be aware, if your children haven't already pointed it out to you this week, and say, okay, I'm complaining about the rain and the weather. There's nothing I can do about it to change it. So instead, I'm going to choose to be grateful. What are 3 things that are good about the rain? Well, 1 is that we need water to survive and rain gives us drinking water. 2, you know what? The flowers and the plants and our grass could use a good watering. So that's something to be happy about. And you know what? I'm going to use this next time there's a sunny day to really appreciate the sunny day. So those are just 3 simple things you can do. And again, if you're sitting at breakfast and you're thinking it, say it out loud, model it for your kids. So and here's another example, because I know a lot of people say, well, you know, sorry, but it is raining again. And that very well may be the case. It might be raining again. But again, there's nothing you can do about it. But let's say, for example, my neck hurts a lot. And it actually really does. But, you know, complaining about it, I try not to do that because really I know that doesn't do any good. But sometimes I'll catch myself complaining that my neck is really hurting again and it's giving me another migraine and I'm so sick and tired of it. This week in particular, I'm going to focus and say, oops, stop, let's think. There are so many things to be grateful for, and even if it doesn't relate specifically to my neck, I'm going to stop and say, listen, I had breast cancer 6 or 7 years ago at this point, and you know what? I am just so happy and grateful to be alive. I don't care if my neck hurts. And truly, that's the case. Secondly, you know what? Everything otherwise, I'm really healthy. I'm in good shape. I'm healthy. I'm here. And then maybe, you know what? My eyes are great and my hearing is great. And you know what? That's great for somebody my age. Whatever it may be. That does not take away from the fact that my neck actually really does hurt and is giving me a migraine. But complaining about it isn't going to do anything. And then once you switch your thoughts to happier, positive, grateful thoughts, then you go to step 3. Then you say, okay, what can I do to fix it or make it better if that's appropriate? So for example, there's nothing you can do about the rain, but my neck, you know what? Maybe I can say, okay, enough is enough. It's time, use it as a catalyst for change. It's time to get into that doctor and see what I can do, or go for a massage or physical therapy, or do some Google research, or ask a friend, taking you to the focusing on the positive and doing something about it. That's what I always used to do with my kids when they would come home from school and complain about a test they took or how hard something was, or a friend. And I'd say, okay, great. Sorry that happened. What are you going to do about it? Which was fine, but what I found to be much more effective is that intermediary step where instead of going right to the solution or trying to find a solution, where they still may be kind of angry and upset about what it is they're blaming or complaining about, it's to switch their thoughts to gratitude, to positive thoughts, and then look for a solution. That's much, much more effective. So again, this is something we as moms, as dads, need to model for our children, because if we want our children to practice what we preach, we have to practice what we preach. If we want our children to stop blaming and complaining, we have to stop blaming and complaining too. So this week is all about modeling this for your children and telling them, just tell them this week, whether they're young or teenagers, this is what we're going to be doing this week. We are going to be catching each other, blaming and complaining about whatever it is, and gently and kindly point it out. This isn't for siblings to cause fights over, as has happened in my house before. So we're going to do this gently and kindly and point out. And kids are going to love to catch you blaming and complaining, trust me. And then gently remind each other we're doing that, so let's change our thoughts and focus on something we're grateful for that makes us happy instead. And that's a super simple way to do it. That's what you're going to tell your kids, and then help them, encourage them along the way. Now, keep in mind, any tool or tip, whether here or anywhere else for parenting, does not mean it works. While this works and is truly effective, not every tip is appropriate for every time and place, especially if you have resistant teenagers or other children in your family. The bottom line is, our job as parents is to give them the tools, the information, and teach them how to use it to empower them, but our job is not to force them to do it. So you may have a child who may be really upset about something, and they're blaming someone about something, complaining about something. They may not be in the mood, even though it would help them to do it, and even though down the road as they practice this, they'll actually want to, because they'll want to feel better. But in that moment, especially in the beginning, remember this is just for 7 days now, they may not be all that interested in switching their thoughts. You can't force them to do that. Our job is to give them the information, the tools, and encourage them to do it. You can also, once they've calmed down, especially for young children, once they've calmed down, if they're having a temper tantrum, you can try it, but it's always better to wait a little while till you can actually connect with them. So again, we give them the information, we model it, and it's up to them to use it. And I hope that you make this a habit, because this is one of those things that is truly life-changing. Nobody wants to listen to you blame and complain, and you don't want to listen to yourself or your kids, because it doesn't serve any purpose. So the bottom line is that let's stop the blaming and complaining. It's super simple. All we have to do is choose gratitude instead. And if you need more than 3 things because somebody's in a particularly bad mood, keep listing things you're grateful for that make you happy until you're in a better mood. Because here's the thing, if you really think about how you're feeling, and you ask your kids when you first do this, maybe let them complain for a little while and then say, how are you feeling? They're gonna have words like mad, angry, sad, frustrated. But then after you change the thoughts, the words are gonna be a little more positive. Because we all want to feel happier. And to feel happier, we choose gratitude and we stop the blaming and complaining. So that's it. Super simple, no excuses. It'll take just a few seconds of your time to pay attention to your thoughts and to change them to positive thoughts, to more grateful thoughts. And that's it. So I hope this tip has served you. And now it's your turn. I'd love to hear from you in the comments below or over on our blog at SherieFogarty.com. And I'd love to hear what you think about this strategy. And then after you've used it for a few days or for the week, come back. Let us know how it went, what worked, what didn't, and we'd love to hear your comments. And finally, if you have any other tips, tools, or ideas for stopping the blaming and complaining, by all means share it with us in the community so that we can all benefit and add more tools to our toolbox. Thanks so much for watching, and if you liked this video, please subscribe to the channel and share it with your mom or dad network. And if you want even more tips, tools, strategies, and ideas for how to get happier, more grateful children, and to be happier and more grateful yourself, head over to SherieFogarty.com and sign up for email updates. Thanks so much for being here, for being a mom or dad, and everything you do each and every day to be the best one you can be. And here's to all of us, creating a better world, one child and one family at a time, starting with our own. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.